Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Ecommerce Revolution video podcast. My name is Ramin. I'm one of the managing partners here at SKU Agency. Our goal each and every episode of this video podcast is to educate and entertain, and we're going to do our best to try to entertain you on all things e-commerce. So let's get things started.
This is just the beginning.
Today, we've got a great topic for you. This is a topic that will surely help lift your e-commerce sales. As you may recall, in a past episode, I believe it was our inaugural episode, we covered the topic of conversion-focused design. Okay, well, today, we're going to dive deep into conversion optimization for your e-commerce site. What does conversion optimization mean anyway? Well, we've invited a man who calls himself a conversion optimization nerd to help explain it all. Our guest is an international man. He resides in the beautiful island of New Zealand, where, yes, the toilet water does spin in the other direction. He's lived in a mud hut in Morocco. We'll have to dive deep into that one as well. He's also known to his wife as a screeching entrepreneur. So without any further ado, please welcome Craig Connelly. Craig, great to have you.
Good morning, Ramin. Yeah, great to be here.
Very nice. And tell me, what time of the day is it in New Zealand right now?
It's about 6:30 in the morning.
Wow, you are up early, as every entrepreneur should be.
Absolutely.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So we're here obviously today to talk about conversion optimization, and it's we're gonna dive deep into it. But before we do, I want you to just take a quick look at this picture. We pulled this off of your Instagram page. Tell me what's going on in this picture.
Well as the digital consulting that I do, I'm a passionate fisherman, and for 6 years I was actually doing tuition for people, teaching them how to fish and such like.
Wow.
And only using lures, not bait. So we use metal lures and
And why would you product, Yeah, why do you use what? Tell me the difference. Why would you not use bait versus
it's just
lures?
It's a bit more of a sporting sort of thing. So there's a lot. The gear is. It's like golfing. You can really get into it. So you get into the specialist gear, and then the specialist lures, and then there's all different types of lure fishing. There's the Japanese style, and it's very involved,
Wow.
but and it's a lot of fun. So, and
Wow.
that fish you saw there, just for the it was actually released in good condition and went on to live another day. So most of the fish that we do catch, the big ones in the shallow water, we do release, but
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of fish was that?
Well, in New Zealand, we call it a snapper, but I know in America, a snapper is actually a different species.
Yeah.
And it is actually related to the bream family.
Okay.
So it is, in reality, it is actually a very, very big bream. Depending where you come from, bream.
That's great.
But we call them snapper, and
Okay.
Right. And they're they're the most common fish you would catch in the northern part of New Zealand, where the water is warmer. Yeah.
So tell me about fishing. What does it do for you? Does it provide relaxation? Can you draw any parallels to the business world in fishing? What gets you excited, or what does it do for you?
The fishing for me, because I fish on a jet ski now, and it's a total get away from it all. The phone's off. I just go out for the whole day, and it just takes you right away from the business day to day, and you can go wherever you want. And I fish very shallow water, then I go deep water, and there's lots of islands you can stop in and have lunch and things. So it's a total battery recharge for me. I just love it. I've been doing it for a long, long time, and couldn't imagine life without it. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. I mean, we, as you may know, my business partner also is in the world of fishing, and when we had him on, we talked about he does kayak fishing,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
similar to what you're saying, it is he immerses himself in it. He gets away from everything, and we joke that I really don't have anything to immerse myself in, but business and e-commerce. So it's a very sad situation in my world, but I'm so happy that you have that because I can see probably being in the fresh air, just, blowing on your face and just, getting out there away from, and you mentioned no technology, right? Really
Yeah.
nothing there, which is,
Having said that, I did actually secure a client
Oh.
at the back of an island on a Zoom call. I think it was Skype in those days, on a boat. So, and I think they all started to get seasick because the boat was rocking as we were doing it. But
so that's lovely. So you did do some business and you did obtain business on there, right?
Yeah, I did it once. Yeah.
That's great. So let's get into your background in terms of how it relates to conversion optimization. Just tell us a little bit what got you here. I happen to know that you were also at one point in your career a agency owner.
Yep.
But tell me, what brought you to this place, and then we'll dive into conversion optimization.
Sure. So I've been like you in this space for a long, long time. So I hand coded my first site in 1998.
Wow.
Selling used car manuals, and which was a great little business. They didn't. Everyone paid by check. So.
Oh my gosh, a check. Does let's hold on and make sure all the viewers out there know what a check is. It's a piece of paper, right?
It's a piece of paper that you should send. Yeah.
Yes, I joke, but it's very unusual to see somebody pull out a check, but that's how they were paying back then. That's fascinating.
That's how they're paying, yeah. And it was the ugliest website ever created by a human being, but it doesn't matter. It got some orders, yeah. And then I've sort of been in the space for a long, long time. And when I had the agency, in an agency, as you would be aware, I'm sure, you are doing 1,000 different things every day. And a customer will ring and say, "Can you guys do this?" And you go, "Yes, of course we can." And you have to go and learn how to do it.
Right.
So what I noticed is the actual conversion part, we couldn't get a lot of help with it. There wasn't anybody I could turn to as a specialist, and it was something that really interested me and something that we weren't doing very well. So I got into it, didn't really have a lot of time in the agency to focus on it. So I left in 2016, and that's all I do now is just conversions.
So let's explain to the audience what conversion optimization exactly is. What does it mean?
Well, what it means is most people, when they start or have an internet, have a website, think that putting a website up and getting a designer to design it and make it look pretty, then whack a few ads at it and a bit of traffic, that the world's going to be perfect. And it's very far from that, because a lot of these sites don't convert, and there are all sorts of reasons for that. And I don't think anybody knows when they first do a landing page or they build a website, if it's going to convert or not. So that's what I do. I get involved and find out why they're not converting, and we try different testing mechanisms and different ads and all different stuff to actually get it converting and fix the basics of the site, such as the speed. And then it's a pretty involved little area, but I've got some tips I've listed here. Just we'll deliver through the thing there, which can really help. A lot of it is very, very, very simple. You don't have to be intelligent, don't have to be smart. You just need a little bit of time to look at the data, really. So
that's great. So where do you start when you take on a conversion optimization project, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for a client? Where's the first place you start?
Google Analytics. Yeah.
Okay.
And
all right.
Google Analytics. I spend a lot of time in Google Analytics. That I do use some paid tools, but that is really the place for me, yeah.
And what are you exactly looking for if we're talking about, let's say, maybe one of the category pages or collection pages on an e-commerce site? Are you looking at the bounce rate? Are you looking how people are dropping off?
Yeah, I'm mainly looking at drop-off rates, just getting a bit of a feel, and also just trying to work out what that page is actually ranking for. And I've got a really good tip for using Google Search Console that I've done on a client recently, where we are we've got his sales up dramatically just through using Google Search Console. So
Wow. Okay.
we'll come to that a little bit later on, Ramin.
Yeah. Yes, please. Tips will be. I will be asking for a lot of tips for our viewers and our listeners. So when you're in Google Analytics and you start to see the data and you see the bounce rate, when you start to apply some of these conversion optimization methods, are you doing several at the same time, or are you making small incremental changes?
Doing several at the same time, but normally, just so I can make it clear what happens, the first thing we do is get the basics right. So more often than not, a lot of these sites that I get involved that are running very, very slow, never Shopify. Having said I did one yesterday where Shopify is running slow, it's because there's about 20 YouTube videos on the front page.
Ooh,
so,
ouch.
But Shopify tends to be, the speed never seems to be an issue with Shopify, but a lot of the other sites that I get involved with, a lot of them that are custom built and such like, the speed is a big issue. So we always start with that. To answer your question, I'm trying to answer that simply. I don't think I can. So once the foundation is placed, yes, we are doing things and then measuring it. So doing one thing and measuring, but we might be doing 4 things at once in different areas. So, yeah.
Okay, and then do you annotate? As far as the dates, this is when we made this change. This is when we made this change. So you can go back and look at the data during that time period, right?
Yeah. So I always keep a record of what we're doing. And like you say, that's where you can get tripped up by just going crazy and testing, having different landing pages and all sorts of things, and it just starts getting out of hand. So, no, keep it simple, but really the basics are to do with the drop-off rates on a page, what the page is ranking for. That one is just so important, and you can get that data through Google Search Console. So Google Search Console, Google Analytics are the areas I spend the most time in. And there's just incredible learning within Google Search Console now. So, and I think,
and both free tools, which are fantastic.
Both free tools, yeah. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that 50% of the searches on Google every day are brand new. And, the Google Search, the Google Search keyword tool is great, but Google Search Console in the keyword area there, there's just so much gold in there that is not used.
Wow. 50%. I had no idea it was that high.
Yeah, well, I think it's up to 50%. I don't know if they can give an accurate thing, but I know that it's round about that. So, and the evidence is if you go into Google Search Console and look at the keywords that Google are showing that they are associating with your website, not necessarily that you're you are ranking, you're in the top 100, and then go into Google keyword tool in the Google ad campaign area and search, it comes up saying 0 traffic, and there could be 3,000 searches a month for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we come across this quite regularly. Yeah.
So have you ever, aside from the tools that you can use, have you ever looked at a site, just looked at it and said, where the problems are? You could see right away where the problems are.
Not necessarily, no. And I would say, in fact, I'll tell you a very, very short story. I think you'll be interested in this. I won't name the people, but I did a course recently which was $5,000 on conversion optimization. And these 3 guys that were running it are what they call super affiliates. And I, look, without getting too much detail, the main thing I learnt from that $5,000 course is that they have no idea what's going to convert or not convert.
Right.
And they had a campaign that was generating $20,000 a day of profit. Wow. They gave that campaign to somebody else. Same ads, same landing page, everything identical, and it flopped with paid traffic. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So why is that? Because testing, really at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work, right?
You have no idea. And the people who say they do are, it's just, I see it time and time again. In fact, about 3 weeks ago, a fellow who is a professional copywriter actually set up his own business selling heart defibrillators.
Wow.
And he wrote the copy for the page. And he said, right, let the traffic go. So we let the traffic go. We spent nearly 5K on traffic. He got, I don't think he got one sale, but it was a bit iffy if it came through the digital.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just
you
never know. You never know.
You never know. You've just got to, you've got to keep mucking around and trying and testing things. And
So let's say Joe DIYer, as we like to call him, that runs his own site, runs his own e-commerce business. Maybe doesn't is not in a position to hire an agency or free or a consultant of any type. He just he's going to try to do these things himself. He knows he has to do something. Something's not working on his site. Where would you point him to first? Would you say go into Google Analytics and start to look, or would you tell him to do something else?
I would tell him to go out and go and speak to 10 of his target audience and get them to physically use the site in front of him and pretend they were going to,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I know there are those services that you can hire to record people's actions, right, on the site. Actual live people playing around on your site.
Yeah, we do use Hotjar. I don't spend a lot of time in there. I find it's just, you can get a little bit overwhelmed with that. Recently we did one, I think I might have told you this one was a housing company. So this is not e-commerce, but they're selling houses. And we had a lot of drop-off rate on some of these pages where they're displaying the houses. And it wasn't until we sort of got actual users using their mobile phones, and I can show you exactly what they did, Ramin.
Yes, tell me, show me,
and get ready to look at the face.
Okay, let's do it.
So they're on there like this, with big smiles. Look at these beautiful houses.
Yeah.
I'll lift so.
Yeah.
And then it's all smiles, and then they did this. Oh. It was a simple thing. They couldn't slide.
Wow.
the photographs. It was as simple as that. So the photographs didn't slide.
And that's what they were expecting. I mean, because that should be common practice, right?
Yeah. Now, in effect, the photographs did slide. It's just the actual plugin or whatever it was a WordPress site. They just weren't fast enough. So you would slide and nothing would actually happen.
Oh my gosh.
So things like that. And that page just had a huge drop-off rate. So people would come on there, they'd look at it and they start doing this, and then they wouldn't work, they're gone.
So what's it, obviously mobile is incredibly important to all businesses now, but the desktop experience is still there. What's the rule of thumb in terms of how much time somebody will spend on your site before they get frustrated and leave? I've heard 3 seconds. Is that still?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's probably, you said, what was the first thing to do? I would say one of the first things to do is jump into analytics and have a look and just see what your ratios of desktop versus mobile are. If you've got a high desktop, then obviously you're going to focus on that. But if you've got a high, and most people have a high mobile now, rate. So mobile is super important, and most people design websites for desktop.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. And, when we're working with clients, they sometimes tell us, something's wrong, with desktop, and, we do, obviously we want to fix everything, but we also want to point out, where the traffic's coming. So the traffic's primarily coming from mobile. That's where we want to spend most of our attention. I mean, we can't do everything, right away to resolve, but, definitely very important it's a great point to go and and that information is right there, readily available for you to see.
The same as you can go and look at your conversions and see mobile versus desktop.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see it so many times where mobile is 60 or 70% of the traffic and has less conversions than desktop. So there's major issues there,
Yeah. So I think back to when I first met you, and this is maybe going back 7, maybe 8 years, something like that. And in fact, I think I met you, you were doing a Pinterest
I was.
Yes, course. And I was intrigued, this Pinterest thing. I need to learn everything about this. And who is this fine gentleman from New Zealand who's teaching this course? But it was very informative. And back then, we had a lot of conversations about platforms, and I know you were, WordPress, was the primary platform of choice, but now that you're doing a lot more e-commerce, both from a business standpoint, entrepreneurial standpoint, but also from a consulting standpoint, helping clients with Shopify. What is your opinion? You mentioned Shopify from a speed standpoint is good. Just talk to us about the nuts and bolts of the platform. If somebody's going to pick WordPress and WooCommerce versus Shopify, what do they need to know when it comes to conversion optimization?
WordPress, what we've been doing, we've been actually rebuilding WordPress sites just with raw code, because but enabling the product section for people. So, but typically what happens, most of the businesses that I am involved with, they aren't on there changing products every 5 minutes. Their products are quite standard. So if that is the case, and they're using WooCommerce and they're using these hideous, slow themes from WordPress, we rebuild the site in code. So if you need to make a change on the main pages, you do it in the code, not through an editor. And that gets us up in the 90% speed most of the time.
Wow,
so
90%.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, that's like bordering on Facebook speed, right? I mean,
it's you can get it very, very fast. But as soon as you revert back to the theme, you're back to the 20% or something with mobile. So
yeah, so it's a trade-off then. I mean, these themes, and I wanted to ask you specifically. Let's talk about Shopify themes. I know Shopify has made a big push into this OS 2.0. Really, fixing a lot of the speed issues that plagued some of their themes. But a theme really gives a business a structure, right? It's a framework, and it makes it easy, as opposed to the approach that you're talking that gets you a very fast site, but it's essentially hard coded, right? I mean, that's the hard coded site, which makes it a little more complex to manage. So I guess if you're not really if you don't really care about managing the products, you just have static products that are always available, that'll work. But it's that big trade-off. Easy to work with framework versus slightly slower versus hard-coded.
Just to reiterate, the product section of the site you can use through the normal.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so you don't. It's just the main pages and those sort of things that are.
So basically going back to the way things used to be, right? In many ways, yeah.
But I've found that the speed is a huge thing. I mean, Google talked about speed the last sort of 5 years, and you and I know both it made no difference. You could have a very slow WordPress site and it could be ranking number one. It just didn't. But I'm noticing now it's significant.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I think we all appreciate a fast site. One that is well laid out. From that standpoint. So talk to me when it comes to conversion optimization. And go back to these themes. Maybe whether it's a Shopify theme or you're using a theme in WordPress and WooCommerce. These themes are meant to get people from point A to point B, right? Kind of help them through the process. How often are you getting in there in a theme when a client has a theme and changing things because you felt that the theme wasn't doing a good enough job on converting that audience?
Oh, very rare. Yeah, very rare. Yeah, I would say, I mean, most of the problems have been around these page building things. It might not even be the theme. It could be the page builder part of the theme. Okay. So I won't name them.
You don't want to go on record? You don't want to go on record?
I know these companies are working very hard to make it faster. So by the time, they may have improved, but it's just, it just makes it, I think it just makes it so much harder when you've got these real chunky bulk themes that are slow to load. It just makes it harder for your users. So that's definitely a consideration.
Yeah. You also mentioned that a site that you saw, I guess, that had a lot of video on you overusing video. What is the right way to use video so your site is optimized properly?
Yeah, what we're going to do with him is just reduce it from 20 down to probably 2, but just have an image there. So they click on the image and that sort of will upload as a thing. So that should speed it up, because then the video is not loading every time someone goes to that page.
Right.
So that's So it's just an image of it looks like a video, so people just go and click on it, and then it will open as a pop up, and then it loads in the pop up. So
Interesting. And obviously video is incredibly important. We know that,
Yeah.
that's why we're doing this podcast in a video format. We just, being able to see, I think more and more people don't want to read. They want to
Yeah.
look, they want to see. And, and also you're dealing with the number 2 search engine out there, right? I mean, being
Yep.
YouTube.
Yeah, well, YouTube's just done a massive update with the way on the video ad platform at least. So you used to be able to choose, you had a lot more options. They've all been removed now, as far as my understanding is, and you can only do responsive video ads now. And you don't have the option to turn it off for their partner sites now. So,
interesting.
The last campaign I did was just before the new update came in. So even then, there was a little bit restricted of what you can and can't do. Now I believe they've just taken most of the options away, and it's
wow.
Yeah.
Why? What is the underlying goal there for them?
They want the same as the actual text platform for Google Ads. They want you to use responsive ads. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I personally hate responsive ads, although they work extremely well. I hate them because I don't know which part of the ad is actually working.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so this actually brings up a point that we're talking about doing conversion optimization on your site. But optimization also plays a role in advertising as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit in terms of how, even if it's Joe DIYer and he's set up ads, where's the first place somebody goes to look how, to see if they have a problem with their ads and if they should optimize?
Well, hopefully they have got everything set up. So in other words, analytics talking to ads, and their analytics is set up for e-commerce, which is quite often I go in there and they're not set up for that, which is the simplest. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? And just for the record, you're referring to enabling the e-commerce, right? Yes. And I am shocked as well how many times I see that. Less these days, but it's still
less
there.
these days, but still comes up. So hopefully everything is connected. We're assuming in this podcast that everything has been connected properly, so the data coming through is accurate. Yeah. And I've actually forgotten the question, Ramin. I'm very sorry.
That's totally fine. Assuming all the data is connected, all the points are connected, where are we looking? Are we looking still in Google Analytics to see if our ads are optimizing? Are we looking in the platform, the ad platform?
Well, all things being equal, the ad platform should be the same as analytics. It never matches exactly, but it's always close. Yeah, so looking in there, but I think what I see the most is when you have ads running. Now, it's going to be much harder now with responsive ads, unfortunately, but if you had 3 ads running and 2 ads are generating income and the third one's not so good, well, the one that's generating income, rehash that, make another version of it with a different headline, and just keep testing those and improving on the ads. But that's what most people don't do. So that's a simple thing to do. And then you can actually see the data and say, okay, I just changed that ad there. I did it last week. Let's have a look. Wow, this one's working way better than that one. Okay, and that's what you're doing. You're not doing it consistently all the time, but you have to do it at some stage and just try and get better bang for your buck. Now, as far as responsive ads go, how we're going to do that in the future, I actually don't know. Because we really don't know which part of the ad is working. So, but responsive ads work extremely well. Excuse me.
Yeah, that is very interesting. When it comes to advertising, you have to do it, right? It is
Definitely.
These days it is a build it and they will not come model, right? There are so many e-commerce sites and so much competition out there that just putting up a site, even if you have that site fully optimized, by the way, it's obviously not going to guarantee you any business at all.
However, with my hot tip that's coming, Ramin.
This is the build-up, please.
With the hot tip coming, there are some opportunities for more free traffic with this hot tip from Google Search Console.
Hold the presses, as they say. Let's stop right here. Okay, just lay it on us. Come on. Okay. I mean, I'm ready. I'm taking notes.
Okay, so in Google Search Console, I've just got to remember what the tab is called. I think it's pretty sure it's called Performance. In Performance, you will see all the keywords that you're in the top 100 for.
Okay.
And I would say 60% of those keywords are not in the Google keyword tool. So these are new terms that you are not familiar with, that Google, haven't had the time to put into their thing, and you can see the impressions, so you can see how many times people are searching for them.
Wow.
So what you do is you go through that, and you'll also see where you're ranking in whatever country you're in. So what you do is you go through there and you pluck out the keywords that are relevant to you. Now, if you're wanting to get things going quicker, look for keywords with intention to buy, which are obviously better, but they don't always present themselves.
And just explain intention to buy being words like action-oriented words, right?
Yeah, so something like, best cotton T-shirt or something, or, And then from there, start weaving these keywords into your site, onto the product pages, and just, so if you've got a product with 5 different options of size or something like that, just keep weaving them into each description, and do this over a period of 3 or 4 months, and sit back and wait. You'll be amazed. Yeah.
I feel like it's almost breaking news here. This is
it's
valuable information.
Yeah, I will. This is in fact, I'm sure these people won't mind. This is not actually, this is an e-commerce site, but it's these guys. Yeah, okay. So I'll try and do this without sort of giving away too much, because they won't appreciate it very much. But this particular organization manufactures very large things that sell for $1 million, and they have an e-commerce part.
I love the vagueness. That's beautiful. Very large things that sell for $1 million.
But
everybody out there try to guess what that is, okay?
They also have a e-commerce store which sells the parts for the $1 million thing.
Okay, all right, wow. So good luck. Nobody's going to figure this. Yeah, keep going.
So in their biggest audience, this is an Australian business, in their biggest market, through using Google Search Console, they identified 5 keywords that they had no idea even existed, because they were a local sort of term used in this particular part of Australia, and a lot of traffic. So that was a massive opportunity for them to actually tap into this market just by using these terms on their site.
Wow, and they just took those and put them in the descriptions, as you said.
Yep, yeah, and also wove it into some of the about pages and the home page and that sort of stuff. So you have to do it in a way that it reads beautifully and it makes sense, and you're not trying to jam these keywords and randomly, because Google won't appreciate that. But this really, I think, would be one of the best tips I can give, is just to use Google Search Console. Now, Google Search Console needs to be set up for about at least 6 months before this data really starts to come through.
Okay.
But it's just so powerful, and you'll see terms in there, you'll just go, wow. And this is what people are physically typing into the search engine. So it's a great tip. But you need to,
That's amazing, because, obviously, as especially now that we're on mobile phones, primarily, our thought pattern on what we search is probably changing constantly, because we're moving around, thinking about what we're and typing in. So new words are coming into existence, or new keywords are coming into existence all the time, right? And what you're saying here is that Google, the search engine, isn't necessarily keeping up with what is being tracked inside of Search Console.
No.
Fantastic.
That's absolutely right, yeah. And then just to add to the tip, if you get one of those keywords and put it into Google, and sometimes, depending what browser you're using, but you will hopefully get the autofill or autocomplete terms come up. So just have a look at those as well, and just have a bit of a search around. But the next part is to find out what is actually ranking in Google for these terms, and find out if there's a lot of things before the organic. Is there, people also ask, is there snippets, is there videos, are there images? That's also quite important too. So
that's interesting. So now you have an opportunity to get what we'll call slightly free traffic here,
Yes.
potentially driving
Yeah.
this traffic into your site. But then this provides you with a great opportunity to apply some conversion optimization techniques to these pages that are now all of a sudden getting traffic. So now you're looking at these pages and looking in Google Analytics and looking at the bounce rates of these pages, identifying how do you continue to grow more out of what you just got. I mean, you just were able to pull in. Now you want to lift, right? And that's where conversion optimization comes in.
And look at behavior flow. Behavior flow just takes a little bit of time to get your head around. It's a little bit overwhelming at first, but it's just anything to do with analytics. You just need a bit of time. That's all it is. It's not complicated. You just need to sit down quietly by yourself and go through, and there's heaps of YouTube videos teaching you, what to do and all these sort of things. But it's just having that time to look at it. I think most business owners just don't have the time, so they pay someone like me to do it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. That I'm much more on that side. When I had my own e-commerce business, I was, it's a lot of work. This is and having it, and especially if you don't know what you're doing, and you're providing a great tip here, but you have to get into the weeds on that tip. You have to get in there and really study and pay attention.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is easier to find somebody like you to help, with this whole process. So.
Yeah, and there's a few around, but I'll just look at my notes in case I don't miss anything else. It's keep testing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The other thing I was just going to mention quickly was in Facebook ads, the other thing you can test is the different audiences based on things like GIFs. So change your audience. Just do some tests based on the audience now, because Facebook last year seemed to be really, really bad for conversions, and a lot of people left Facebook and went on to Google Shopping, and it seems like the trend is starting to come back again now. So
interesting. Huh.
Yeah. There was Facebook last year must have had a shortage of ads, or something was going on, because it was just quite difficult getting the conversions. Costs were a lot higher than what they were in previous years, and now it seems to be making a bit of a comeback. So, but that's one that's been working quite well. It's just try different audience segments. So try people looking for gifts, or try people looking for clothing, or whatever you're into. I mean,
yeah. Do you, so outside of Google Analytics and Search Console, what other tools? We mentioned Hotjar. We'll put links to all of these for anybody who in the show notes. What other tools have really blown you away? And I know you like tools. I know you are on AppSumo all the time, looking for all the latest tools. What's your go-to? What's your other go-to that can help with conversion optimization?
Well, I use SE ranking as but I mainly use it just for trying to look at the competitors and see what they're into, and just check the strength of their sites and those sorts of things. But I spend most of my time in Google Analytics and Google Search Console, and I think those two platforms alone, you could spend a year learning how to use them properly. There's so much in them. So but there's no other tools that I'm just trying to quickly think. I mean, I use WriterZen for writing content, but really that's I'm just trying to think as far as.
And for those out there, WriterZen is an AI-based system, right, Craig? That is utilizes. Do they have, or are they not the AI based?
No, they're not the AI. They do have an AI option, but pretty much what they do is they just go out and take the top 20 websites ranking for the term you want to rank for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and just give you all the information you need to know about what is required to rank and what you need to put in your content and that sort of stuff. So.
I believe I saw on your YouTube challenge that you did.
Yes,
you did. You talked about them, and as well as many other, your 30-day YouTube challenge, which I assume is still up. People can go back and see those.
Still there. I didn't quite make the 30 days. I caught, there was an illness in New Zealand called RSV. It's a respiratory thing.
Oh.
And I caught that, so it laid me flat for a couple of weeks.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
As well as being locked up with COVID, it was good,
Oh, yeah, sure. There you go. All the combination of the two. I love it. So, I mean, I'm very encouraged to hear that, that your go-to tools are free, essentially, and that's, for anybody out there who's doing this on their own, I feel a lot of times entrepreneurs feel, there's a lot of software being thrown at you. all the time, and
Yeah.
subscription based. But to know that you can take a step back and go to the 2 free tools out there to really understand, where the issues are on your site and how to improve them. That's it's amazing. That's amazing.
And the other best free tool out there is people.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think the best advice is don't listen to the close people around you, because they will normally, if they're not a target, if they're not the target audience, go out and find the target audience. And I've just walked up to people on the street. I walked up to 10 builders and their trucks, their dogs hanging out the side, and said, "Hey, do you mind? You've got 5 minutes. Would you mind just looking at this?" And gave them the scenario.
Wow.
And this was for a health and safety app that we were building, which we didn't end up building. It was a total disaster. And thank goodness we only got. It was, when I say we, I mean I was working for the client, but
Right.
we got into it. He got into it for a certain amount of money, and we realized that there just wasn't a market there. So.
And you got that because you went and you had those conversations?
Absolutely,
Wow.
yeah. Everyone made the assumption that every person would use this app and it would make $1 million. Well, the reality was completely different. Yeah.
Wow. I feel, it is very important. It's very easy, especially in the digital world, to get stuck in the, we're going to build it anyway, or we think the feedback is going to be great. And simply doing the old school, if you will, approach of, it's marketing analysis, really, just the focus groups. You're doing a focus group, impromptu focus group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I got here is try, if you want to get things, if you're a new site and you want to get things going quite quickly, you can try ads for free plus shipping. And that way you're going to end up with an email address. And also, if you do it right, you can make it so you break even. But that's quite a good way to get things going quickly.
And in that case, you're talking about you're running ads for free shipping. Is that what you're saying?
You're running a ad campaign through to a product that people buy for free, and they just pay shipping.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah.
And so I've seen more and more of that. By the way, that's definitely a strategy that is coming into play with merchants out there.
Yeah, because you're basically buying an email address, and if you break even on the thing, and then there's a chance, of course, of getting future business from these people. So
yeah,
but that
one.
If you're new, that's quite a good way to get up and running and get things going, and you'll soon get a feel for conversion optimization. You'll soon know if your site's working or not.
Yeah, and I think
products.
That's the goal, right? I mean, if you don't have traffic, then you can't really assess, if your site's working or not. It just doesn't, you can't you can't do a lot of things. You can't collect email addresses. So it's important to start getting that traffic. And even if that means experimenting with different, different processes, different methodologies, to get that traffic in so you can start making those assessments on your business.
And with Google Analytics, if you look at acquisition, obviously, and look at the channels and see where your sales are coming from, and you might get some surprises, particularly with referrals. So quite often we see referrals generating sales, and we dive in and see which site it is. And the guy goes, "Oh, yeah, we paid them $10 for an ad about 2 years ago. I forgot about them, and they're generating sales on." And as you know, with Pinterest, Pinterest for me still generates sales, and I've not touched my account for probably 7 years. So
no
6
kidding.
years. Yeah.
Wow. So I love that. Now, this comes up, this question comes up because as we know, Shopify has their own analytics, which is, pretty good. I think but it doesn't allow you to do the level of research that you're talking about for conversion optimization that Google Analytics lets you do, correct?
Yeah. I don't spend any time in it, so I don't have any experience with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's funny. It just sits there. I think a lot of people, they don't look at it because they've been trained, and rightfully so, that Google Analytics is the place to go. That's where you go get your get your real data. Maybe I guess if you want a quick spot check on something, maybe you pop into Shopify Analytics. But analytics, just in general, I can't stress enough. I feel businesses, whether they have a marketing department or they're, a solopreneur running, how important it is to you put it on your calendar, right? Put it on your calendar and go into Google Analytics once a week, but go with purpose. Let's look
Yeah.
at some things and set up maybe some dashboards, because I feel a lot of times business owners get intimidated because they get in there. It's a lot in there. Right?
Overwhelmed. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's such an amazing platform. I mean, it's not perfect.
Mhm.
There's always going to be things in there that don't add up, such as, the people start moving, from site and then come back and, all this sort of stuff. It gets quite complicated there. But just for the basic stuff, it works extremely well. But there are other platforms. If you want to get really into it with these cross pages and all this sort of stuff, it gets very, very complicated then, but I tend to avoid that part because I don't normally need to do it.
Yeah, because you've gotten enough out of Google Analytics. No, that's I think if there's any takeaway out of today is that start looking at your analytics, start looking at it with purpose, start taking the data that comes out of it and making decisions and making changes to your site that can help lift sales. Tell me, give me an example of a situation where you went and into Google Analytics for a client, or maybe for one of your own sites, and you made a change, and what did it result in business? Give us some amazing number, like it jumped by a huge, and you were just thoroughly impressed.
Okay. Well, there was a keyword we found in Search Console for a company that manufactures. They do, not sure what you call them in America. We call them blinds. Do you call them blinds?
Yeah,
inside a house.
Window blinds.
Window blinds. Yeah. So they do window blinds and curtains and those sort of things. We found a keyword in there to do with I think what it was now. It was blackout. Blackout.
Oh,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular term had a lot of traffic with it. So we optimized the site around that, and then that just went crazy because I don't know why people, maybe it was the time of the year, or I don't know, to do with COVID, but everyone was chasing these blackout blinds. So
wow.
that turned into significant sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was I wasn't even bidding on that term. We just did it through organic traffic. Yeah.
So that maybe also speaks to what's happening out in society, right? Some of these keywords start popping because something's going on in the world, or something's going on in that town or that region, and all of a sudden that keyword starts to show up. And if you're not watching, you don't see it.
Yeah, on the site they were called blockout blinds.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then also there was blackout curtains.
Yes, I remember we had blackout curtains when we had our twins. We had so they wouldn't wake up. That's why we blacked out the curtains. Yeah. So that once again, that was through Google Search Console that we identified that word. It wasn't a term I'd heard people use very often, but there was significant traffic. Wow.
And that keyword was actually in Google Keyword Planner.
Right.
But that's showing 20 searches a month or something pathetic, where there was, in fact, there was thousands of searches. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I think that if anybody out there who's listening, and by the way, let's also talk about the fact that even though you're in New Zealand, it doesn't matter. I mean, you work with clients in the United States, right?
I do.
You work, so it's these days borders do not matter.
They do not.
And you're very well versed in what is happening in the United States. So any of these situations that people are in and maybe just can't figure out how to get out of it, to reach out to you would be great. How do they reach you if they need to reach you?
I have a website, craigconnelly.org. I will put a form on there because I took the form off. I just had too much work over winter. We're now coming into summer, so I couldn't take any more work on, but I've freed up a bit now, so I'll put a form in there so they can contact me easily.
Great. Yeah,
there's no way to contact me. So.
They can't hunt you down on social media. All they're going to see is
they could.
They're going to see the pictures of the fish. That's what they're going to see on there.
Yes. Well, I've not logged into the Instagram account for a long time, so I better make sure I still am.
Yes, you make sure you're still active, and they're welcoming you into what will be soon called the metaverse. By the way, right? We're all going to end up going to all end up in the metaverse, hanging out and talking about all of these things together. That's great. Well, let's do it. If you don't mind, I just have a few more questions. We'll call our rapid fire questions. Unless you have some more tips, I don't want to cut you off. If you have any more amazing tips, we're here. We take tips.
No, that's cover the main ones. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are great, by the way. And I just feel, there are very few options out there for especially people getting into e-commerce for the first time to gain traffic. So what you provided today was, absolutely, people pay money for that kind of information. So here it's given away right there.
Yeah, but make sure you give Search Console a chance to build data up. It does take a while. So.
Yes, good 6 months, I believe you said.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So let's jump into the rapid fire questions. Okay.
Sure.
So what gets you excited each day to wake up and tackle the day? What one thing gets you excited?
Looking at conversions.
Well said.
Which is what I do. That's how I start my day. I dive in and look at conversions. Yeah.
So some people read the news on their mobile phone. You're jumping in. I love that. That is beautiful.
Yeah. I also spend my time searching Google trying to find out how to get rid of a neck beard.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably a new keyword that Craig has enlightened me prior to starting the podcast. That when you're in lockdown, which New Zealand is still in lockdown.
Auckland. Auckland.
Auckland itself. Okay, not the whole island. Okay,
not the whole
just
island.
Auckland. Yeah. All right. So Since August, okay, and as your hair grows, apparently in the back of your hair, this is the new term. It's called a. Go ahead and show everybody and tell them again.
It's called a neck beard.
And, right.
It does go the whole way around and down the area there. So our hairdressers are still closed.
Yeah.
And there's a very big market. A black market for haircuts.
And when things open back up in Auckland, and you're a hairdresser, you should probably be calling Craig to help you optimize for neck beard. I think that's
because there'll be a few people.
A few people are going to need that service done.
And look for some intention in the keyword. Best neck beard hairdressers or something.
Thank you. Yes, intention to buy, intention to hire, right?
Absolutely.
Intention in there. So that's great. So that was the first question that you look at conversion. That's what wakes you up to solve that puzzle. Mm-hmm. What is your drink of choice in the morning when you wake up?
Coffee.
Black or that's
black.
It? Just black?
Yeah.
How many cups?
Just one.
Wow, you are you are very disciplined. You're a very disciplined person. I like it. There it is. And yes, 6:30 in the morning. You're still sipping on that black coffee.
Yeah.
So tell me, if you were not doing what you do now, what would you be doing? What would just your ideal job be, or your ideal thing to spend your time doing?
Well, obviously the fishing. I love my fishing, but I split that between now and working. Yeah, I don't know. I actually can't answer that. I love what I do. As long as I'm not doing it 8 hours a day, every day of the week. I do try and break it up a bit, but I don't know what I'd be doing, Ramin. That's a very tricky question.
Well, I somebody asked me that question once, and I felt like I needed to answer with this. I would be golfing, or I would be doing. I love what I do too. I love the world of e-commerce. I love business. To me, this is fun, right? Just talking and learning about things that I may not know enough about, and hopefully things that the viewers. So my hobby is work. My hobby is e-commerce. I don't know what to say.
Well, I learn something new every day, and I learn from all different types of people.
Well, this is why you're a screeching entrepreneur. This is
absolutely. Never assume you know everything, because you don't.
Yes.
No one does. So,
Be inquisitive at all times.
And everyone's got their own little niche, and they will niche, whatever how you say it.
Potato. I don't think it's all the same.
I mean, I design sites that look like a dog's breakfast, but they do convert. Whereas I have no design skills, but I'm able to get conversions. Yes. So
and isn't that amazing? Yes, isn't that amazing? And listen, I don't think your sites are a dog's breakfast. That's your term, not my term. But I will say, you're probably defying, put it up against like, right, a theme, one of these beautiful, glorious Shopify themes. But I think ultimately what it is, yes, you're optimizing, but you also know your audience too. You know your buyer persona, and you maybe are asking those questions that people should be asking, because your buyer may not want that glorious, beautiful design site. They like what they're looking at, and that's why they're willing to buy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're just going to make it. Always think like a customer.
Always think like a customer. Beautiful, beautiful. So, all right, here's your last question.
Sure.
What is your go-to SaaS software, the one you can't live without? I think I know the answer to this, but what is it?
Can't live without. It's going to be a toss-up between WriterZen and SE Ranking. I'm probably going to go for SE Ranking because I use it every single day. Yeah.
There it is, folks, and we'll put a link in the show notes. Great tool. You've shown me that tool. I've looked at it. I like it. I like you looking at it and explaining it to me than me looking at it, because it's got there's a lot going on in there. It's a
great tool, and it's way cheaper than some of the other tools out there, and does the same thing. So it's a very, very good tool, and a great support there. I actually don't know where they're based. Because
doesn't matter anymore.
No, I don't know where they
anywhere.
are. I think they might be in Bulgaria or somewhere, but they're super helpful people, and I think it's an excellent tool. They provide good service,
and that's important too. You get a lot of SaaS software out there, right? That you're never going to reach anybody. They're not going to answer you. They just spun it up, and they're sitting in a room just coding. They're not no answer, no support, no support. Well, this has been great, Craig. Yeah. I've known you for a long time, and each time we talk, I learn something new. Each time we talk, I laugh, I fall out of my chair. There's a whole myriad of emotions that go on when I talk to you. I love our friendship, and I'm so happy that you put that ad out for your Pinterest course way back when, and I took the bait. I clicked. In a good way.
Yeah. And right back at you, Ramin. I very much enjoy our communications, and having a fellow screeching entrepreneur, of course, on the other side of the world is also equally good. And I hope one day we can actually meet in person.
Yeah,
but,
can you believe that? This is a great example of technology. Craig and I have never. You were almost going to come to Napa or
Sonoma.
Twice. Yes. Yeah. But that never happened. And now I'm in Austin, and you got to come to Austin. Great barbecue here. I don't know if you've ever had great barbecue, but that's the claim to fame here. Okay, in Austin, Texas. But yes, it's as if we've known each other and we've already seen each other. But it would be great if we could see each other in person one day. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And I know you're probably itching to get back to Google Analytics to really dive in deep and make sure you find that golden nugget that will help a business grow. But I thank you for taking the time to do this podcast. This is a new venture for us, and I absolutely wanted to have you on one of the first few shows. So thank you for doing this.
Well, with you at the helm, Ramin, it can only but succeed.
Well, I thank you again, and this brings us to the end of this episode on conversion optimization. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining the E-commerce Revolution video podcast. We look forward to having you on future episodes, and Craig, we'll have you back again and talk about other things, including all the different ventures that you have under your belt. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
This is just the beginning.
If you enjoyed this episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube or drop us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you very much.